G'day, Spice Legends. Welcome to Burner Bites Down Under, the hottest show down under. Today, we're joined by Lee. Lee's the other half, or let's not say that, the other half, one of the two coins, sides of the coin, to Charlie's chili, mate. G'day, welcome to the show, mate.
I'm really grateful to be here. Thank you for having me on and being a bit of a local legend and letting me have some local real-life tasting.
That's all right, mate. No dramas. So you're a bit of a what's it called? A new legend to the old chili community, mate. I got to obviously ask you some questions. So we're going to delve into some of these flavors today. So I've seen there's some really awesome bottles. So you're going to explain a bit of that to us as well. But each one has a meaning, and if you look at the bottles, you can see, guys, they've got a name and they pertain to something as well. And we'll go and delve into that. But we're going to start on all the mild stuff first, and then work our way to more the wild. You've got how many flavors is it today?
We've got 8 flavors. 6 are in our standard range, and we have a seasonal one that's just come out locally, and a special one just for our community of something super hot, just because they asked for it.
And you said the overwhelming majority of the products are locally sourced in that as well, like all the ingredients and things like that.
Absolutely. So nearly all the chilies, apart from in our Mexican one, are all grown at home in the northern beaches. Even the Thai basil, the coriander, all grown at home. We use a local person for our honey for some of the sweetness. And really then everything else is as Australian as we can get.
Oh, awesome. And the other thing is, guys, where we are, if you're looking, I think it's a bit posh. Oh yeah. We've got a little statuette behind us, and we're actually at our DYRSL, believe it or not. This is an RSL. We're just in the posh area, it's actually quite a nice room, the courtyard, and they've allowed us to come and play in the courtyard a little bit, and we might even do some of our chili judging here too. So I think that Lee may or may not be one of our chili judges. You know,
I think I'd absolutely love to join that.
Her gear won't be in, so don't worry, guys. She's not going to be biased.
No,
maybe next year, because I believe you're still sort of in the amateur kind of chili industry. Is that right?
So we're still pretty new into this space. I know there's some incredible ones that have been reviewed, and the Burning Bites Down Under have gone through, but we absolutely have just started in this space, and through friends, family, colleagues, and other people who love our chilies have grown to that point now, making a couple of 100 bottles and just starting to look at taking that to the next level. So definitely still in the amateur league of what's usually reviewed, but I'm so happy we've been asked to do this today.
That's okay. And look, I think everyone's going to start off amateur anyway. Like, I mean, everyone starts amateur. Like, no one's just born pro, you know, and that's sort of how things begin. And then it's sort of good to have a chat with someone who is in that starting phase or starting process of where things begin, and sort of saying, okay, this is sort of seeing that sort of intro or prequel kind of movie into what begins of the chili industry. So I think, well, let's get into the first sauce. So what's this first one here? This is called Mango Madness. So tell us a bit about the name. So there's a reason behind the names as well.
Yeah. So originally, obviously, this one was actually called Indian Mango Killer, from the Indian chilies and the mango. But every time we brewed it into Mango Madness, you'll notice the labels are all pretty well designed. That is the absolute job of my husband, Charlie.
So he's the second half.
He's the second half of Charlie's Chili, and he's in the film industry. So has a love for some of those film posters, that kind of film style. And so you'll notice our entire range has that really nice film poster kind of look to it. It's what makes us unique. And what we love is trying to use that combination of local flavors. At the time we made this, it was when mangoes, you were buying them big crates from kind of vans around here. And
I know my sister's mango fiend.
When they're in season, and you smell them, and really brewing that beautiful then flavor out of them with our Indian chilies that we roast to make a really nice milder end of the range chili sauce. So that's the kind of start of our range.
So we've got a bit of chicken to play with. We're going to try all these today. So you want to whack a bit of the old mango on there? We'll try it out. So the first question I want to ask you, Maddie, while we interview here, or we attempt to, if we don't burn ourselves off, is like, what was your first chili experience? Everyone seems to have that. So let's eat this stuff first, and then you're going to tell us a bit about that, mate.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Mate. Nice. It's really fruity. It's pleasant. It goes well with the chicken.
Yeah, it goes really well with the chicken.
It's like a really mild kind of burn, kind of in front of the tongue. You can't really taste the apple cider vinegar, but it's sort of got that weird, it's sour and sweet. at the same time, which is really, that's good.
Yeah, and that sweetness all comes from that mango, from that, really in the right ones where you almost don't need to blend them because they're kind of really at that top point.
The garlic.
Yeah.
The garlic sells it too.
Yeah.
A bit of brown sugar, the honey. Yeah, and there's a ginger, a bit of cumin, and the Himalayan salt. I find that a lot of dishes and products that have Himalayan salt, it doesn't sound, it sounds corny, right? But the Himalayan salt does really add that extra effect.
It does that pink salt, just adds a slightly different flavor profile. So it's absolutely the one we use across the range. I think it's just got a slightly nicer flavor. Yeah. And actually in our one, when we get to our barbecue sauce, I like to use a bit of actually smoked garlic salt. It's probably the only one where I don't use the pink Himalayan. But it's just got a really clean flavor.
Smoked garlic salt. Oh, I can't. I want to try that.
And then the other one with this, which you can't see poured out, is quite thick. So it is nice to have with chicken wings, something you can dip in and really get into it. And even if you just feel like grabbing some corn chips and getting in there.
So tell us about your first chili experience, mate. Everyone seems to have their story. Tell us what your one is.
I'll tell you the first one I remember, which was
first one you remember.
First one I remember.
Hang on.
In the chili, in the UK, there's a lot of chili festivals. They're incredible. You go to like a big manor house. They're in usually huge gardens, and there's loads of different stalls. And we tried all the ones on the stall, got to the top end, and we're being a bit cheeky. You're like, oh, it's hot, but it's not that hot.
You got to respect the heat sometimes, and sometimes because they won't respect you if you don't.
So the guy asked us to sign a waiver to basically sign our life away.
Where was this?
This is in the UK Wadston Manor at a really big kind of chili festival.
G'day, legends.
Brought out for us the Grim Reaper. Comes in a little coffin. Everyone's seen this one.
Yeah. We're a bit serious here now.
Yeah. A bit serious, and he got out a toothpick. And I'm like,
and you're like, oh.
Dipped the end in the toothpick. This is myself and my friend, and gave us that tiny bit. And you're like,
yeah, whatever.
Toothpick worth, that's nothing. I think within less than a minute, my lips had almost doubled in size. You couldn't see.
Free collagen.
Couldn't see my eyes anymore. They closed up. My cheeks, on my face. I'll even post a picture later. You can all have a good giggle. My face didn't look like my face anymore.
So you went like a Kim Kardashian went wrong.
That's right.
You didn't need to do the shot challenge. It's just this stuff. You're like, oh.
Yeah, and then you go through the sweats, and you kind of feel a little bit ill. We went and got ourselves like a frozen yogurt and just held it in our mouth. No one talked for a little while. And then you get that rush, the rush afterwards. The endorphins.
Yeah.
And we went back. We went back and had a second taste and bought some because you get that rush of feeling. And for me, that was it from there. We really, whilst some people love the hot end, I'm much more about flavor, but for me, that was really memorable as well.
I'll never diss. Everyone has their own individual, what they like, and everyone, like you said, everyone goes to me, oh, it's got to be hot. And I'm like, okay, but you've got to have some flavor as well.
Yeah.
And if you can if you can create something that's a cocktail of really hot and really tasty, you've got something special there. It's really hard to do. I know Uncle Mungo seems to pull that off a lot. I'm a really big fan of the Delta, the COVID-19 he did, which is really cheeky, and then he did COVID-19 Delta as well, which is even hotter. But amazingly, they're really balanced sauces, and every time I try a sauce like that, I'm like, oh, God, you did a good job. Yeah. The demonic from Gods of Sauces in Western Australia, that blew me away. I had like a shot or a spoonful, and I'm going, oh my God, I went back for like 4 more, and I'm going, this is hot, but I keep eating more. What's wrong with me? And it was just that good. And I'm like, producers, guys, if you guys can make stuff like that, do it. Do it, because that is just really amazing stuff.
Yeah. And I said to Phil, one of the things for us is having them that you literally just want to bring them out, pour them on stuff. It's all about the flavor. Each one's about a flavor profile. You can absolutely make top end, very, very hot ones, but really it's all about the flavor for us. And that's why I love brewing them, taking feedback on them. A couple of them didn't make it into our future range. They were good, but not good enough, or the flavors just
and you've got to really be able to reproduce things on a larger scale. If you get popular, if you get I was about to say famous, if you become successful with your business, you've obviously got to be able to expand and go from being a cook on a stove at home to then a commercial level. If you can't mass produce, you're going, well, what's the point?
Yeah. If you can't mass reproduce the flavors, I think that's really key as well. So we have had others in our range, but this is kind of the stable ones that now stuck. You can reproduce. And we've had a lot of feedback into some of them to make sure we got to where we want to be. So
okay. So tell us about this one. So this one is the Pineapple Express. I think most people know
the film.
The movie Pineapple Express. Tell us a bit about this one.
So probably the big thing that's in this one is the coriander. We went for a little bit of a runnier one on this one, just so you can pour it on more things. Like, because it is in the milder range, it is nice that those ones we can use them for a lot more. For me, for that, it's really great on chicken. And people just love it because it's the combination of coriander and pineapple. And I roast the pineapples in the oven. So roast them with a very small amount of honey, so you get all that flavor out of them. It gives you this extra sweetness that you don't then get from having to add extra sugar.
I find that coriander is a very divisive ingredient. What did you find to try and balance this? Like before we try, like, what did you do and what was your attempt to try and create it where people are going to enjoy it and it's not overpowering?
With the coriander. So initially I started with just using the stalks, but that actually can be it's a more bitter flavor and it is more powerful. So we actually dried the leaves a little bit. So rather than fresh coriander, if it comes straight out of our veggie pod, you can smell it before you've even brought it into the kitchen. So it's too overpowering. And
do you find that the fresher it is, it has to be not from the groceries? It sounds like you've grown it yourself and then you whack it straight in.
Oh yeah, and
cultivate it yourself
and blend it up. And it was just a coriander sauce at that point. So if you slightly just dry it a little bit in the oven, not at the point it dries out, but if you just dry it a little bit, it just takes out a little bit of that really overpowering. I think it's
dry it out a little bit,
not
over the top.
Yeah, because then it becomes a dry one.
And so is that crispy or it's not crispy?
Not crispy, just the point just before, and that just slightly
That's
brings it down when it's fresh, but you still get the great flavor because some people.
And there's still moisture in it when okay.
So there it's almost like a sweat. You almost just sweat it a little bit,
just a little bit of perspiration,
and take a bit out because if not coriander, even in the small.
I better not let you tell everything. You tell all your secrets. You're like, everyone's copying me. No, but that's a really bloody tip. So let's try some of this stuff.
I think I'll pour this one straight on because this one's designed to be poured.
Yeah, I was going to run out of space, I think.
Yeah. And you'll see, even though this is by roasting the pineapple, I thought this would have
roasted pineapple.
I thought this would have a much more yellow color, but when you roast it, actually the pineapple and you blend it, it becomes much more orange. It looks much more like the mango, even though.
Yeah, I was going to say it doesn't look very pineapple-y, but all right, cheers, mate. So the question I want to ask you is, what got you into sauce making? Right.
That way a little bit.
Oh man, the pineapple just burst in your mouth. That I feel like it's got a bit more kick on it.
Yeah. My husband is messaging me while we're chatting. He's saying the pineapple goes with fish, chicken, salad. That's what he's saying. Like you can actually I
could see that as a salad dressing almost.
You could probably just shake it up with a little bit of something else and just pour it on. And obviously,
it's very runny too. With the thing. I'm going to say the last one, by the way, guys, is I would rate it mild.
Yeah.
And very general public. For chili heads, it's barely on your thing.
Yeah,
it's a very beginner's one. Yeah. This one, I'd say maybe a medium for non-chili heads and a mild for
a mild for chili heads. So this would be if people are starting our range, like where do I start? We're like here because the mango just takes away the
and it's only the front of the mouth, just a bit of lips, and a bit of the tongue. This one's a bit more of an all-round kind of mouth burn and a bit of the tongue.
And this has got habaneros in it, all the habaneros we grew, so it takes you up that level of Scoville.
I have to say, like habaneros can have that really fruity kind of texture.
Yeah.
But the fruit of the pineapple is so sweet; it really counteracts that, and it's really enjoyable. And then you got a spot of white wine vinegar in it, and the habanero is actually pickled, which is an interesting choice. But I think that really works with it. Yeah. And then the brown sugar, so you've got that right kind of balance. And then the coriander comes in, like you said, and you just that little, that kind of tang kind of thing. And I'm very. What's the word? Fickle. Yeah. When it comes to coriander, I know I'm not usually a fan, but that's turned me. Yeah. It takes a lot. You got to do something right with coriander for me to be interested, and that was really interesting. And that's like, wow, you've done yourself proud.
Yeah. And I think part of the reason with the pickle is because with a lot of these, we use apple cider vinegar. We try and be really pure play with our ingredients. We don't add preservatives. So apple cider vinegar means it can last out of the fridge.
Very fresh.
It's very fresh, but if you actually take some of the chilies and you pickle them for a little while in the apple cider vinegar, it takes down the spice. So this habaneros are across most of our range, and up here they become much hotter. But pickling it just takes a little bit of the heat out. But it also means you don't have to use so much pure apple cider vinegar, so it doesn't get too on the vinegar side with the combination.
Yeah, right. So tell us then, what got you into sauce making?
So I love to cook. All of our friends, family, anyone who comes around, I love to cook.
So you're like the alpha cook.
I'm the
I'm
not on the creative side.
You're the matriarch of the cooking.
I love it. People come and go, oh, I'm coming from Mexican. I'm like, I'm going to make this and a pico de gallo and this and a refried beans. I'm going to make some tacos. I might do a side of this, a salsa. I like to cook. I love to entertain.
Do people shrug you off a bit because you're like, oh, white lady, make a pico de gallo. Make a Mexican. You're like, mofo.
Yeah, they come to my house and taste.
They try hang on.
The flavor's pretty good.
Yeah.
And probably slightly more on the British side of the Mexican, which is originally from Scotland, and my husband's from England. We were growing tomatoes in the UK, and our tomato plants, they went crazy. We were chopping them, salading them, making salsas, and you're like, what else can I do? And made so many. I'm like, right, I'm gonna make
I've got a surplus of tomatoes. What else can I do with it? There's only so much tomato sauce you can do.
And my husband, being British, loves obviously Heinz tomato ketchup. And we're like, right, tomato sauce.
So you do your own Heinz kind of style.
Start with your own plain, not too spicy, just a little bit of spice, bit of mixed spice, small bit of chili. And then we're like, oh, I've got to take that up a level. take it up a level. It actually took us into what I was saying was our first ever sauce, which is Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Yeah, I like that. That's a funny movie. But then you said, what happened with the Attack of the Killer Tomatoes?
It exploded. So the challenge with fermenting.
Totally agree, Dennis.
Yeah. When you've got that combination, especially with the fresh and the cider vinegar, is a real high risk. And we were using initially before we got to our the bottles we love, which this is kind of the apothecary style ones.
I do like the presentation. I do like the
labels.
labels.
This kind of more chemist old style bottles. We were using just these ones with the more pop top lids, and we were having explosions.
The killer tomato struck back.
It's like, and do you know what? And actually, for me, the thing where I think people don't realize about tomatoes is that tomato sauce is a lot of sugar goes into it. Yeah. And if you dull it back a bit, it's not really tomato sauce anymore. And people, it didn't stick.
You can taste it in it. You're going, oh, this is off. Something's off with this.
So we just couldn't get it to stick in the range. We still make it. But from there, tomato sauce, you instantly go into making barbecue sauce. And that was there for our first really big batch.
Barbecue sauce is my home. I love barbecue sauce.
Got liquid smoke in it. You start taking it next level.
Really?
Yeah. So you start taking it up. I was just saying, we did try one that had a bit of bourbon in it. We couldn't quite get that to work out. Went back to just our traditional Brown Thunders.
We're just talking about the Jekyll and Hyde by 13 Angry Scorpions with the wild turkey whiskey and bourbon in it.
There's something in that. They've got that and they've nailed it.
But the balance, it's got to, when you introduce an alcohol to your product, you've got to get this balance, and it's not just stopping it from separating it, but does it taste good?
Yeah, is it not
do you burn off the alcohol and all this? I'm like, like so many obstacles.
They've perfected that. Their whiskey,
they've had
barbecue one, they've had a long play. And some of these, when you make them at home, you can do multiple versions, but there's a point we kind of have to go, you know what? I'm happy with that. It's good. And then, every time we get new chilies come in season, we always have one on the side we'll play with. And that's why we had these little mini bottles, especially this one, which was a seasonal.
So they're the mini ones are more experimental.
We call it the experimental range, either because we're trying them out.
Evil genius.
Evil genius. Wow. It's also okay if you then have a batch and don't make a new batch. But same with it, we made a peach one, necromancer.
So they're not just in small bottles, they're small batch, small bottles.
Small batch, small bottles. And if they don't work out, it's okay. You just blend whatever the next one is. But we thought our peach one would stay in the range, called necromancer. But that, again, peach and the vinegar and getting really ripe peaches that you can get the flavor out is really hard. And they were also an explosive range, so they also are no longer in the range. So we've gone for the ones that do well.
You were saying that it's hard to make a good sauce and keep it especially ferments are so hard to delve in because you've got to watch those pHs. You've got to get the right balance. You can't have too much air in it. It's frustrating. I've had a few explode in my face and watching clean my face going, that wasn't fun. Or they've gone off in the mail or something's happened.
You need to have a bit of experience with, I make kombucha, I pickle chilies, I pickle jars of pickled jalapenos. What some of our friends you just give me jars of your pickled jalapenos. Right. Nothing really goes into that apart from maybe a few peppercorns. But when you get used to pickling, it helps with knowing the pH and where to go. Yeah. And also when you start making it before you've even bottled it, if it's right or not. You get a knowledge.
And there's that device where it sort of lets the air escape, but not too much as well. Do you know what it's called? No?
Oh no, I don't know what it's called. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but I've seen some people going, and I think a lot of beer brewers do the same thing. They're allowing it to come out, and it's like, do they send to Australia? Sound Brewing. We're in Australia.
We're in Australia. This is the Northern Beaches. We're in DY.
We're in Sydney, mate. Greater Sydney. You do send Australia, bloody oath. Yeah. There you go.
I think only right now we haven't looked at our international.
What's your so for everyone that before we get more into it, what's your email and your website address? So
it's charleeschilli@gmail.com.
So Charlie's Chili.
Yeah. So that is the Charlie of my husband and Lee being myself. And we have the Facebook page. We'll get shared up after the review, and absolutely go on there, and through there you can access us, and also our Instagram where you can message us and we'll tell you how to purchase some if you're in Australia.
There you go. And you're jumping on Facebook too as well.
You're like,
it's a must. Face is a must.
Face is a must.
Hey, legends, g'day, Kylie. How you going? That's the way. So, okay, we've got this next one here.
Yeah, right. I'm hoping this does you proud. I was really nervous after watching a recent review. You did talking about how much you love barbecue. I'm
a huge barbecue fiend. If you win me over this, mate, you've done really well.
Yeah, and this is from the brewing of starting with tomato sauce.
Brown Thunder. I'm guessing that's from what title?
Well, there's a couple of titles. There's actually also a pet name my husband has for my son. So I think it is hot. It is spicy. We've taken it down a little bit of a level. It was probably more at 10 at one point, and we just brought it down to be a really good, hot, delicious, smoky barbecue sauce.
Right. So smoky barbecue chili sauce. I'm interested. So I want you to
pour this
to
one.
pour this one for us.
And
So
this one makes me nervous because you're the barbecue judge.
It's chunky
you've
too.
You've got to make it. So with the barbecue,
I like a good chunky sauce.
You can't see. It's just got to make it thicker. You want to shake it.
It's super chunky, guys.
So you want that
there. Yeah.
You almost want to hold it above your head, not quite, ketchup moment where it's thick and it sets, and that's just doing it naturally, not using cornflour things.
Let's go to this one. So the question I want to ask you with this one, matey, is what was your first sauce? Cheers.
What was my first sauce? Oh,
dude.
I'm going to go for double dip on that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. That's really good.
Yeah. Okay, I'll take that as good thing from the...
Yeah, man.
So,
I just want to read these ingredients. Roasted habanero, chili, apple cider vinegar, brown sugar, liquid smoke, Worcestershire sauce. Yeah, okay. Garlic, smoked paprika, yes. A bit of Dijon mustard, onion powder, light soy sauce, mixed spice and salt. Tell me, what is light soy sauce?
So light soy sauce is just slightly less salty and slightly less strong in flavor than the dark. Well, you've got the normal sauce.
You're going to have to try this on my cold dead fingers now. This is beautiful.
Well, then I think that'll become a take-home one for you.
Yeah, this is a take-home.
Yeah, and it was just because, again, with the salt.
It's nice little, it's a friendly burn too. Yeah. Like it's sort of like that. I sort of describe it similar to the one sauce. It's that campfire burn, pleasant memories. Like, it's like a warm friend giving you a hug around your mouth and going, this is really enjoyable.
Bacon and eggs in the morning in your roll. That's a go-to breakfast sauce of choice in our house.
That's a beautiful sauce. That's beautiful. Yeah.
When we take it camping, our friends have got it on all of their, everyone's doing their wraps in the morning, doing their buns of bacon.
I'm not usually a mustard fan, but the inclusion of the mustard, I think, mixing in the Worcestershire sauce with the light soy sauce.
Yeah, and I think what most people don't know is if you look up a barbecue sauce recipe online, they all say, go take basically a whole bowl of ketchup, squeeze it into a pan and add stuff to it. Whereas I start from the base of making a really good ketchup from scratch, nail the ketchup, turn it into barbecue sauce, get the right amount of Worcester.
Feeling a bit of burn around the lips now, where it builds a bit of lips, but it's so pleasant, and I'm like,
And I think the thing that differentiates is the smoke, the combination of the kind of liquid smoke. And
Chris, you're making me just. They send to the US. There you go. You got a US people.
Oh, there we go. We may have to start doing our first international deliveries then of those. So,
Jason O'Connor, he runs Murphy's Creek Chili Festival, and
chunky.
Yum, chunky.
Yeah. But it is that barbecue sauce. You want your barbecue sauce to thick. You want that almost pat it on the bottom, get it into your bun, have it stick to your food in a wrap. It's amazing.
You can taste as it hits your mouth. You can taste that they're fresh ingredients. You can taste that they're.
Very popular. We do a tomahawk steak occasionally at home to get your tomahawk. You
that would
have
be
it on the side.
Sexy on a tomahawk.
Really fresh, piece of steak and kind of.
So there you go. That's the address, guys. If you want this stuff,
perfect.
check them out. charleeschili@gmail.com.
Yep. And I'm sure Charlie can go and share the Facebook page to our Facebook page and Instagram.
Yeah. And your Instagram, what's the Instagram address?
That would be, I'm assuming Charlie's Chili, but I'll let Charlie.
At Charlie's Chili?
At Charlie's Chili, it is.
There you go. And it's spelled like that, guys. So Charlie's, because it's char, as in short for Charlie, and Lee. Yep. So Charlie's Chili. Bam.
Hopefully
you're telling me about that Thailand story.
Yeah, I was saying
Charlie.
When we were in Thailand, he thought it was hilarious that we were Charlie and Lee. So Charlie, and actually for us, it's a really just nice. I guess that nice, easy name for us, and kind of keeps it really homegrown. So
it's sort of like that kimye kind of thing.
That's still got a nice warm flavor,
but less,
My description that would be warm if you had to use it. It just keeps going. So if you were sitting by a campfire, you've got steak with your friends, you're out and about. It's got that really nice ongoing, but not a burn.
I'd say, I'd say it's like a strong medium for non-chili heads.
Yeah.
To like a mild, it's like a warm mild for chili heads because. That is, it's a really pleasant burn, and it builds a little bit after. It's got like an afterburn kind of, but not like a reaper, like a really enjoyable burn where it comes back on your lips, and I'm like, ooh, and it's really pleasant, and that's a bit rarer for some barbecue sauces. It sort of peters out with the heat, but this heat sort of lingers a bit and in a good way.
Yeah, and with the smoky bit as well.
And the smoky is like, ooh.
And that's where that came out of really that first tomato ketchup I did, getting tomato ketchup at home and making tomato ketchup, that really brewed into making a really good barbecue sauce.
So the first sauce, this one you were talking about, was from this, and it evolved
into the barbecue sauce, and therefore was not, and just adding the right things and getting the right flavor and being specific, and also being afraid not to experiment. A couple of them, when we did them before, we really bottled them and took them to being batches, and you get the same flavor every time. We're experimenting with a bit hotter, a bit smokier, a bit more Worcester sauce, because the challenge is, known as barbecue sauce on its own is red. It's not brown. Actually, it's the Worcester sauce, and adding a little bit of soy takes away. Some people add molasses, but that's really sweet. So if you make barbecue sauce at home, it is red. that's the color it's meant to be. It's then adding a few things to get it to be the color people believe it to be.
Or desire
it to be. One of the batches was red. One of our batches, people were like, oh, that's sort of barbecue sauce. Like,
you're like,
close your eyes and try it.
Yeah, you're like, oh.
But it is that kind of, so molasses, people do cheat. Some people even, if you look in the back of caramel, you see on quite a lot of barbecue sauce bottles, you turn them over, it's to get it brown. So they're adding a little bit of soy.
Well, it's more marketable too, I suppose, because it doesn't look like tomato sauce, and I guess it's that marketability, but it's pleasant for the eyes. But I don't care what color that was really good, and so your first sauce. So what made you want to adapt that into a barbecue sauce from tomato?
One was for me the exploding of the tomato, and the second was just because I couldn't nail the tomato quite like a. There's something about some traditional tomato sauces that you can't really nail that people just love, and you can get really good. And there are some people that make some amazing homemade tomato sauces, especially ones with chili. But for me, because I couldn't nail it, I then just took it to the next level. And when we got here and people love this, and we've sold so many of them, I was like, just stay. I can do barbecue. Just stay good with what you can do.
That's right. Like you got to stick to what you.
And the challenge with doing tomato sauces, you need good
I've tried a lot of barbecue sauces, and that's a really sexy barbecue sauce. So huge kudos. No, seriously. All right, so. What's this next one? So you said this is a small batch.
This is a small batch. It was experimental at the start of the year. My husband
says, what does it say?
Taijitsu.
And 6 out of 10 heat.
6 out of 10.
Taijitsu.
Yeah, chili sauce chokehold. I reckon my husband's put 6. There's some of these because if it's habanero, depending on the chili, it comes down to your own little flavor of what you think is a 6.
I think it's also to do with what you mix with it.
What you mix
and how it will taste after you've produced it and put it on shelves.
And obviously doing like a Thai sweet chili dipping sauce, it does have that higher sugar content. What we've done is we grew so much Thai basil in our veggie pod this year that we just made this. I made it originally as a one-off. My husband was working, took it in. Everyone was pouring it all over their chips and corn chips and using it as a dipping sauce. And so we've now mass produced it for this season to see what people think of it. So this is a Taijitsu, and certainly the label was only made this week, so brand new to our range. There you
go. It's a pretty good label too. So I'm going to say all these labels are very interesting labels, and you said they're all movie inspired.
Movie inspired with some augmented reality on them. Now that would be a question for my husband. I think it looks like something that's more like bacteria. However, it's got that kind of look on it of like something from the medical industry.
What's the Jiu-jitsu.
So my husband does Muay Thai, so does my son. They do Kenseido, which is Japanese mixed martial arts. So we kind of love that play on. You'll see we've got Kung Fury. We like that little bit of a play on a martial art thing. And it's got, you have it initially, it comes across as sweet. It comes across as your standard chili sauce. And then you go, that's got, as he said,
I will say, on my lips right now, this is still lingering.
Yep.
And it's a really enjoyable burn. That burn still lingers. That's great. That's really good. Because like some people, they want their sort of one and done sauces where it goes bang and it's gone again. That's stuck around.
It's the one that keeps giving.
And I can still taste it keeps giving. I can still taste the flavor and it lingers on your taste buds.
So this
that's
one,
really enjoyable.
The initial hit will feel sweet. It is a Thai sweet chili dipping sauce. So with snitty, it's probably perfect. Or just get some really good corn chips, get some plain mission chips, get some really good plain chips and just really go in there with it. And that's really where the
chippies as well. Maybe we
got some. Yeah, we can try with the chippy, but I'll pour it. Actually, I should just not start the chicken. You know what I'm.
That's all right.
And
this looks a bit runny too. Yeah.
It is a little bit runnier because but
a bit chunky too. So it's runny and chunky.
And that chunkiness is all from habaneros, from the kind of pickled habaneros, and I pickle them with the Thai basil, so you get the sweetness of the basil.
So, you've got to tell me after you eat it, what's the product you're most proud of? Oh wow, that is really sweet.
Yeah, hopefully.
It's very sugary, but. That's one hell of a...
maybe sits there in the range.
I'd say that's, slightly milder.
Well, not as
it burns more on the tongue than the lips. But it's incredibly sweet.
Now it's warm.
And it builds a little bit,
Yeah, that's now where I'm feeling a little bit warm. Obviously, it doesn't help me put the heat lamps on while we're sitting out here as well.
we had to get power out here. And then they go, oh, you okay with the heat lamps? Like, yeah, but we don't really need them. We're going to be warmed up in a moment.
The glow from here, it's just from the heat lamps that are turning on.
Yeah.
The one I'm most proud of is the cherry bomb when we get to it. And that's because it's cherry and chili. And people were like, oh, I don't know. When we first made it, people were really like, oh, I don't know. I smoked the cherries, got some liquid smoke in there too. Whoa. So people were like, oh, and you can see people.
What kind of cherries? Are we talking like maracchinos?
They're just a fresh red cherries. Getting them fresh is really challenging. I actually this year went for
because they're seasonal too, aren't they?
They're seasonal, but actually from doing experimenting, I used frozen Australian cherries, and so it's still really good, and they still produce as good a flavor as. And the fresh ones, obviously, you got to try and actually sit and get all the.
So frozen does work.
does work, but you've got to be specific about your brand. You've got to taste and let someone come to room temperature taste. If they don't taste like anything, they're not going to taste like anything.
So what's the rule with the brand? Is it worth paying for something a bit more expensive? Will it give you more quality?
I wouldn't always. It's not always about organic. It's where was it grown? Like, look at where it was grown. And are they good at doing cherries? Has it been just produced in a greenhouse? I don't know, in the middle of like Ayers Rock or somewhere.
So don't go hydroponic. Go more natural.
Go more natural. Where should they be grown in Australia? What time of year should they be grown? And then you want to have, usually on the back, I'm looking for words like fast frozen or quick freeze, something where you know they've instantly gone from.
Do you have a tip for places that it should be grown in Australia? Where do you think it should be grown?
I don't actually. I don't
like, because you say like is there some regions where some things will grow better in like an arid region?
Oh yeah,
desert,
so like mangoes,
more tropical.
Yeah, mangoes from Queensland usually, and same even with the pineapple. Probably that's
very tropical.
Tropical kind of regions. Cherries actually is a little bit cooler climate. Like in the UK, you can get, and actually in the UK, not imported from you can get really good cherries.
So you're thinking with cherries, maybe more New South Wales,
New South Wales,
Victoria, South Australia kind of thing, and maybe even Tasmania.
Oh,
Tassie. Or is that a bit too cold?
Tassie might be getting too cold. Tassie's probably still in that gin whiskey.
So you sort of think of that wine region.
Yeah, it's a wine region.
Valley kind of thing.
Because you want it to get hot but not too hot, because if they get too hot, cherry skins actually split. And if they don't get warm enough, you don't get the flavor. You can eat cherries; it tastes like nothing.
So it's a balance of temperature.
It's a balance.
It's a real belt between.
And I did experiment with quite a few different ranges. I won't say which cherries I chose, but I went through a couple, because some of them you make them, you're like, oh, it's okay. It doesn't taste like, you almost want to go get cherry essence.
You wanted to burst with flavor.
Yeah, you want people to know if they taste that blindfolded, it has cherries in it. And that's the same with the other ones. You want to have mangoes in it and pineapple, which involves ripeness or roasting them to get out the flavor. Knowing how to harness a flavor like tomatoes is really important, because you can get really, you eat tomatoes in a salad, they're not great, but if you actually roast them at the right temperature, so tomatoes actually should almost roast in sweat, and it pulls the flavor out of them. It's something that wasn't as flavorful raw actually.
I like the description, pulls the flavor.
It does, yeah. So in barbecuing, if you want to get your habaneros really hot, the same habaneros in here, put them on your barbecue, almost roast them with hot heat, because that brings the oils out super fast.
Good tip.
And it makes them hotter and more flavorful. Whereas if you sweat them in the oven,
I feel bad about calling you amateur now, mate. You have some really good red hot tips here,
Yeah, so it's about playing.
Trying to get too many of your secrets away, But there's some really good tips. Like wow, and I got to say, like the same thing with the cherries. Keelty's sauces from Nowra, and they do this cherry chipotle barbecue sauce, and I was like, I don't know about that, and then I tried to go, oh wow, and I'm like, that is a really good sauce, and you just like you said, you close your eyes, you taste the cherry, and gone, this is cherry ripened barbecue sauce gone right, and I was like, wow. And I think like you said, it's the process. If you do the right process, it's just
and if any sauce is kind of love, we've got so many different chili sauces in our fridge. If they say on it, I'm a whiskey barbecue, you want to close your eyes and you can taste the whiskey and you can taste the barbecue. If someone says I'm smoky sriracha garlic, you want to pour that and taste it, because then you've got it right.
That blind judging kind
of blind judging. You should whatever it says on the front should give you a good representation. And when people just say, I don't know, it's spicy chili or whatever, I'm like, well,
that's not really
anything, is it? Chili, vinegar, and garlic. What is that? What have you put in?
You're like, is that chili and vinegar?
Yeah.
Like how generic,
But that's what I'm saying. But even things like sriracha, if you ever look at how sriracha's made and watch a video on it and how they actually get the chilies to make it, and then they almost like slightly Tabasco and ferment them to get to where they are, the flavor is in there. Like, so when you know your chilies, you actually can do really well.
Oh, Charlie, proud of you, baby. Represent.
Thanks.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's delve into another one. So this
the Mexican standoff.
Mexico standoff. Ooh. And this looks pretty iconic, right? What movie is this from? Tell me.
Hopefully people will put it in the chat. So this is again this one's really a creation from my husband. Is the only one where we actually purchase chilies that we don't grow ourselves. Okay. And the reason for that is to get that kind of adobo. It has a very unique flavor, Mexican chili, and you can't, unfortunately, Australia doesn't have the climate for it. Certainly not in my garden.
So where does it grow?
Well, I actually get them from Mexico, get them dried, and actually have them back sealed. And then one of the things to do is when you get them, knowing how to get the flavor out of them when they have been dried. So when you soak them and do things with them to actually pull that flavor out, and then use all that liquid to get into the sauce. So you're getting all of that. They're a really unusual chili. On their own, they're actually, for me, they're not my favorite chili, but when you get them into a sauce, that's when they really come out. So this was for a
adobo, like I was saying, is sort of kind of like that coriander thing.
Yeah.
You've got to do it right, and it's getting the right balance and that right amount in there, and the ingredients that you mix in. It's just got to.
And so this one's got a tomato base, because we almost wanted something that you'd even make as part of your salsa. Like if you've got your tomato and you've got coriander and I don't know, onion and stuff, and just pour it and almost use it to get you a bit of a cheat kind of special pico de gallo salsa sauce. Yeah. So, or if you're making chili con carne and you want to give it a bit of unique blend, just bang a bit in.
Okay.
So this was a bit more for me to blend. But was really because we love
good mixing kind of Mexican.
Mexican, yeah.
And would you put in like your Mexican nachos,
of
minced and just sort of anything mixed kind of thing?
Anything you're going to do there, absolutely.
Or anything with tomato. So
anything with
tomato.
Anything with your tomato. I like to basically, if you're doing like a breakfast Mexican wrap, or like you're doing shakshuka, but like a breakfast where you've got the eggs, the poached eggs, you're making like a Mexican hot rancheros, put that in there. Gives you that flavor and that profile of the Mexican flavored food with got a good bit of heat in it, but it's also really tomatoey. So just the tomato in this, and these tomatoes are roasted. Just you'll notice it makes it slightly less spicy, just because the tomatoes have got that nice rounded
citrus
flavor.
As well breaks through.
Yeah, they break through that. Yeah, because if not, you're just making things that are super hot. And no flavor, and that's the thing. It's really easy to make super hot sauce. But to get them hot with the right flavor is the challenge.
It's going to be to get both is much harder, and it takes a lot more. I don't know if the words expertise or more experience with it.
This is where they come down into this range where I think this is hotter than the next one, which is Kung Fury, which has got the more Thai milk, coconut milk in it. Whereas my husband actually thinks that. So it comes down now into your flavors, because when you start adding other things that break it down, they do slightly change. It's not about the Scovilles of the chili anymore. It's actually about how you've slightly broken down that chili to round the heat off. So.
Yeah, no, definitely, because you don't want to just create something that's just going to absolutely wreck you. You want to enjoy that flavor as well. All right, well, let's give this one a go. So what was this one called again? Yeah. It is Mexican Standoff. Yeah. It's rated 6 out of 10, so it's the same as the last one.
Same as the last one.
Or some of that one. There you go.
We do have one that's, wow, we might actually have, there you go, one that has done a ferment.
Too much.
Well, okay, let's just
watch the electronics there.
It's the electronics and the. This is actually. It may be because I also did shake them all. We started. Wow. Okay. That one.
Maybe put that out of the way.
It's going to come out of the way.
There you go.
I don't even know where to put that one right now, so I think we'll have to say Mexican Standoff is standing off.
Stop.
Yeah.
It smells really good. But obviously, something to do with maybe that pH.
Yeah, I think that one.
That's really hard. Something hard to adjust.
Adjust and put that one to the side.
But that's okay. That's obviously a lesson that you
learn
as you go with the home brews. So that being said, going forward, how would you readjust with that?
How would I readjust with that? So probably just when it's actually in the part of cooking. One of the things also, you can usually taste the pH before you even do anything with actually. And putting it into
it's got a certain smell.
It's got a certain smell. It bubbles in a slightly different way. So probably just looking to bring that back on our next batch. So that batch, unfortunately, is going to have to be out of commission. But I think looking to bring that back on our next batch and kind of bringing that down so that it actually doesn't do that. So
that's right. So
what's interesting that I was saying is that we have, the recipes are written. We use the same amount every time, the same amount of everything. So maybe
you just got to love sometimes because honestly, you can't be prepared for everything.
Oh, yeah.
You just got to do the best you can.
I know. We're just going to do the best we can with.
So how would you what's the word? Fix an issue like that?
An issue like that. So first, I'll go back and look at everything I used in the recipes. I do write them down every time. They're documented. I know how many bottles they make. I know what's in them, exactly which brands we used. If we're kind of using anything that's the adobo brand, so probably just going back to the start and checking everything. Making again as you did before. Checking that you didn't do anything. Did I cook it too long? Did we bottle it when it was slightly too hot? Those kind of things. And then if a second batch is bad, then actually go back to the drawing board.
And that's the thing. There's no one's really immune to this. I've seen some companies that are really big companies and they've had similar kind of issue. And you've just got to do the best you can.
Oh, yeah. And with this one, this is probably our 6th or 7th batch of this one. So it's not our, one of our early ones. It's actually a really popular one that we have a lot of. So the other option, of course, when you bottle these and when you're trying to get the bottle's really hot and you're trying to actually heat seal them, you can of course always just sometimes and that one was full to the top. I did notice it didn't have a little gap. If you slightly filled it, there's not that little bit of air when you take the top off.
You would say that.
Yeah, you'll see they all usually sit about here, but that one was full to the brim.
Maybe be a bit wary of that one.
Oh no, this is so this one is it's really, really popular. This is our Thai one. It's called Kung Fury. And it actually has coconut milk in it. We grow kaffir lime and we let the kaffir lime sit in the coconut milk and make it really kaffir lime flavored before we get the Thai basil and all the Thai flavors in and the pickled chili. So this one actually, from the pH level, is very low. Yeah. Because it's got that coconut milk base over something that's more apple cider vinegar based.
I like, what's it called? What is it? I love how she doesn't try to make an excuse, but explains the process correctly. Yeah, exactly, Chris. We're all human, and that happens. So tell us a bit about your partner duality in the company.
partner duality.
Does it
I'm
make
just
it
gonna give this
easier?
one a shake. I'm gonna give it a shake.
That looks really thick. Yeah.
It is thick. 'Cause it's got coconut milk
So
in
this
it.
one, what's this one called again?
Kung Fury. So I'm just
Kung
gonna give it a
Fury.
shake down
So is
here.
that like Kung Pao, or is that? No, it's from Kung Fu.
Kung Fu.
The series. Oh,
Yeah, and because it was
Um,
Thai, of course, and I'm just gonna use that to break
It's rated
the seal on
6
this
out
one.
of 10.
See, I think this one's hotter. So this is a personal. If I can get it to. There we go.
Oh, there you go. Oh, that's a bit thicker, that one.
Yeah,
Oh,
a bit
yeah.
thicker. So this one, people actually
This
use
looks
this.
almost like a
Thai
mayo
paste.
kind of.
So people have used this one to make dinner with, to actually cook chicken in and make it a Thai, almost like a dinner paste.
Yeah.
So it's
It
got
sort of
the
reminds me of that massaman curry kind of look or something.
Thai red curry is
Or
probably
even
the,
a laksa kind of.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
I'll put that one in there for you.
But just tell me about the this partner duality.
Yeah.
Does it make it easier or harder with
To
your
work your other
company?
half.
And especially like when you're raising a family.
Oh yeah.
You know, like obviously
So
there's that element. So we'll eat this one first.
we'll eat
Let's
this
try
one first. We can try this one, which is basically your Thai red curry kind of.
Cheers. Wow. The coconut just explodes in the oh.
It should be with the lime.
It's
the
a
kaffir
juicy,
lime.
yeah, bit of lime. Yeah, that reminds me of a really juicy massaman curry, or that Thai curry based with coconut milk. You know,
Yeah.
no, it's
And
really.
that was just this one started as almost trying to make something for dinner. Trying to make my own Thai curry paste, trying to make it,
That's
almost like
beautiful.
your kind of
really good. Yeah.
sauce, but then kind of started expanding, and people are like, oh, but I want to pour that onto stuff. I want to pour it onto chicken. I want to pour it onto other things. So just took it down a little bit of level from being a paste to being more of a sauce you can then actually do. And because it's got the kaffir lime in the coconut milk, whilst there's a lot of habaneros in here, which leave you with that nice warm feeling, the kind of kaffir and the coconut actually are what take this down rather than your traditional citrus one.
I feel like with this one, the flavor comes first, and then it starts building.
Yeah.
In the heat.
You
So
get-
first thing, yeah.
People
First-
get deceived with it. They start just dipping it.
Yeah, and now it's starting to build. I go, oh, okay. Oh, no, there it is. You know, and so I think you get that explosion of coconut milk first with the twist of lime in it, which is really great combo, and then I think about 30 seconds later you start getting the build.
And now you
the
feel
burn in
warm.
your mouth.
Yeah.
And you warm it up because I was about to go, oh, that's not as hot as this one, and then I'm like, oh, hang on, hold the phone, and then
It builds.
it's that Thai curry kind of build, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah.
That's quite enjoyable.
And that's just because
you know?
the coconut milk and kaffir kind of always hide the pickled habaneros in there for that little bit. Because you start, for me, it's
'Cause-
warmer now than it was 30 seconds ago.
Because I was
It
going to
builds
say,
out.
I felt like the citrus had broken it down a bit
Yeah.
much, but no, then it builds, like you said there.
And it's, I think, because you get the fat content in the coconut milk as well, so it almost keeps the flavor a little bit more off your tongue, and then it comes in, and you're like, oh, actually, I'm not holding it in my mouth. I feel a little bit hot on your cheeks.
Yeah.
So
I am actually starting to feel a bit hot on the cheeks.
Yeah.
But I like that you've included apple cider vinegar.
Yeah.
With if not
Nearly all of them. Yeah.
I feel like that's a better tasting vinegar than your normal
Yeah.
vinegar.
Some people use the
And they're
white.
it just overtakes and controls most of the flavor. And I'm like, where the apple cider vinegar is more enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's not that big in your face kind of flavor, and the tang can be either overpowered or mixed with other things.
Yeah.
And I feel like your choice of that ingredient has made these sauces way more enjoyable too.
And it is, and you'll notice when I talk about the white vinegar, one of them I think is white wine vinegar.
The white wine.
Yeah.
That was more interesting
Yeah,
too.
because it's more, because you don't have that, because sometimes the distilled white cheap vinegar that you can get is it's all, people also use it to clean things, right? It's a really powerful flavor.
It can
And
be
you
like
can't
that.
hide it sometimes.
Like back in the day when you were a kid in the 90s, you get the really cheap passion pop kind of white wine, and you're like, in the morning, like, oh, what did I do that for? And you sort of pay for what you get. Whereas obviously, whatever wine you've chosen there, it's a quality wine.
Yeah.
It might not be, I don't
This
know,
is actually
Moe or something like that. It's not a $150 bottle, but it's that quality flavor mixed with quality ingredients that does it right. And like you said, it's getting that right balance of ingredients.
Because it is hard, if not to hide the vinegar. You can, a lot of them you have people just blended vinegar with chili. You get that after.
Yeah, because
That's
you
like
want a bit of vinegar in your sauces, so it preserves a bit more, and you want it to last longer. But at the same time, you've got to get that quality flavor, and it's just that balance of the right ingredients and products in there at the same time. Yeah.
No, I'm going to get this bottle of white.
So tell me, I think this is like, I felt like it was maybe a medium for chili heads and non-chili heads, and maybe a strong mild for chili heads.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think only if you used a lot of that and made yourself a sauce.
That's almost like curry in a bottle. That's beautiful. Like that's like a massaman Thai curry kind of thing, or a red or green curry in a bottle. You just bang it, straight go on your rice, or a bit of chicken, or whack it with stir fry.
Or you make yourself a Thai salad or something. You can. That's kind of in your range, but it just has a grower. For me, it's a growing. Some of these, that difference between a 6 or 8 is actually not the initial hit. It's when you're sitting there going, oh, feeling a bit warm. It's got that initial piece after it. So,
that's absolutely beautiful. All right, so
this was
cherry bomb.
my favorite because of the combo.
Oh, I didn't know. That's what I asked you. Was it? Does it make it a bit easier, the duality with the partner, or does it make it a bit hard having arguments because you got to work together? You're going to try and get some sort of
I think it's great.
Like it comes some days, I'm sure it can affect the relationship, and then other days you're going, F this person.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to look at them anymore, and now we're going to go make something together.
Yeah. No, I mean, my husband's incredible. He's in the film industry, so he's got this beautiful eye. He knew the bottles had to be. We looked at so many different bottles. You can't believe
he's the
bottles.
visual.
He's the visual. We wanted this apothecary style bottle. We wanted like specific lids, and then with the labels, finding the exact right labels and what they were going to look like and how they were going to sit on the bottle, like that kind of creative side and the naming is really all him. But also, we've got different tolerances to different chilies, and we have different flavor profiles. So having someone you can actually, I'll taste that and go, oh, that's too hot. He goes, no, that's really good. Other people will love that. And because when it gets to this end, for me, that's out of my how far I like to eat something hot. But he'll have to go, no, it needs that. So I think someone you can actually.
So you got two different flavor profiles that you're chasing, but then you collaborate and create one.
You can create one, and then I'm okay knowing actually it's a little bit hotter than I like, but the flavor is still there. It is that hard range. If you don't eat really hot chili sauce all the time, you taste your own, going, oh, is that good? Or am I just it's too hot for me.
One of the weird things was that you said your husband is in the film industry, and then he's good with visual and all that kind of stuff like that. But you're apparently in biomedical science, right? Or you study biomedical science.
I studied.
Is that right?
I have a microbiology degree from the University of
Charlie,
Sydney.
always want to make it.
Yeah, he does always want to make it harder than my husband.
But like what I'm saying is like that's not a pushover kind of degree.
And maybe that's why I like the experimenting and being really particular with what's in them and how they work and having a recipe's name.
You're nuanced with your chemicals.
Yeah, a little bit on the OCD style of the chemicals.
Which I think you kind of need that as a source producer.
And also when you're making them, ensure everything's sterile and having all the right gloves. And you should see there's a gas mask in my kitchen when we're brewing this one that you asked for, and you're in the goggles, and actually having that background is great. I now actually work in recruitment software, but
that's right. You recruitment software. Tell me a bit about that.
So the company I work with, who is based here in the UK and the US, I'm the ops director. We help companies implement some recruitment software and automate it and make it work better and make it a really great experience, not just for the recruitment company, but for the candidates they hire as well.
So you're a smart cookie there.
Just this is as I said to Phil, this is my side hustle, but I love cooking.
You actually said to me, and you said this is your happy place. You had a hard or rough day, and you're like, I'm going to go and cook stuff. Yeah. And other people go, what? That's not your happy place.
I couldn't think of anything worse than on a Thursday at 4 p.m. going, you know what, I'm not working for a couple of hours. I'm going to go make 200 bottles of the new cherry bomb, or I'm going to go experiment with a new flavor and make this. Whereas for me, that is my happy place, and I love it, and I feel so relaxed in the kitchen because that's my creative zone. So that's why my husband outlining his creative outlet on the bottles, my creative outlet's inside, what you're making, and knowing you can play. There's no rules. Like mixing cherry and chili or pineapple.
I love that about all these creations that people come up with. There's so many different combinations, and you're not limited. There's no limit to what you can do. Yeah. And just when you think you can think of everything else, someone else puts another twist on that. Yeah. And I love seeing new creations from producers. And everyone's seen a million just vinegar and chili. And I'm like, that's fine. Like, it's not like some people love that, and that's fine. But I love seeing new products and new creations with new twists and new flavors and new combos. Where someone's gone, what about this? What about this? And I was like, oh.
And you see them. You see other people release these ones. You go, oh, that looks great. So we love other people's chili sauces. It's not just about us. It's about trying everyone else's, especially in Australia, and seeing what they are, and actually having those and being okay to use other people's flavors and go, you know what, they nailed that. Yeah. So it's not a competition from that standpoint. It's just loving chili in different flavors and getting great ideas from them.
Oh yeah, 100%. All right, so I'm
going to grab a tissue to give this
I am absolutely curious about this cherry one.
This was our really
original. Kilties, they really opened my eyes when they did the cherry chipotle. So I'm curious to see how this one's going to go.
So this one we've made purposely runnier than the others. I mean, thickness comes from two ways.
Do you want to shake this one up a bit so we get all the flavor?
I can give it a shake.
One thing I noticed with some sauces is, like we were saying before, sometimes you can get them to separate a bit, which you don't want. That too.
And I think most of them say on them things like refrigerate, give them a shake before you go, especially when they're made 100%. Handmade and you're not adding.
It's almost rule number one. That, especially if there's like alcohol, you can see that chemicals are separated. Give them a good shake, guys, so you get all the flavor, in them. Because sometimes
really and this is purposely
that is so runny.
We've let this one also still have bits of cherry in it because you can. Some of these come down to how much you want to blend them, how much you want to put them through a masher. How much do you want to literally make it? Like, you know, these ones we personally made more liquidy, but with the cherry, I wanted little bits of cherry in it. I wanted you almost can taste a bit of cherry skin.
And the other thing is texture is always really good.
This one for me is the smell.
Ooh,
got me on
that
it.
smells smoky.
So the getting the cherry and getting the smoke and getting the combination with the chili.
That is really smoky.
So
and like that's
And this was our first one we quickly
smoky,
mass produced into bottles with labels. Had lots of people purchase it. People asking us, "Can I buy some for Christmas gifts?" That was our first one where people were like, "Oh, it's different to anything else I've tasted. Please make it." And that's why for me it's my favorite.
Because you don't automatically go cherry and barbecue. You don't automatically assume it. But like now that if you're the second producer that I'm aware of that's made cherry and barbecue, and I'm like, okay, that's a real hit.
Yeah.
You know, and as long as you get it right.
Yeah.
So it smells pretty impressive. We need to taste it, but I want to ask you before you do, look, dabbling in the kitchen to going pro. What inspired you to try and go from just making it for yourselves to then producing for your friends, and then like you said, I think you're going to start evolving onto not just doing, hey mate, you want some sauces, to actually did a chili sauce deal and take it on the market, you know. So what inspired the jump? Let's eat it first.
You want to eat it first, and this one should be hotter. It's still habaneros, but we let them.
Oh yeah.
So that should be a grower as well.
Yeah, and the builds. Oh yeah, that builds. Yeah. That's really. Yeah. That's really good. That's got more of a throat burn in this one.
And I pickled the habaneros in this one, not to take the heat out, because actually I used a lot of habaneros in it, because I like I like if you've got smoke, and the same with the barbecue sauce. If you've got smoke and chili, having the length is really good, because then you get left with not just one flavor, you get left with two. So that's why I like that combination of using smoke and pickled habaneros. Gives you, and then it comes out your nose. It's like it gives you longevity. There isn't just heat.
That's what I have to comment about. That is, it's really interesting. You're getting the burn and the flavor at the same time, right? Yeah. And this is the weirdest part about this sauce. It's such a duality that you feel the flavor and you're tasting it at the front of your mouth with the cherry and the smoke, and then you're feeling the burn at the back of your throat at the same time. You're like, what? And it's a really interesting mix of flavor and experience at the same time. Going, that's rather enjoyable. Yeah. And it sort of reminds me of when you eat like a scorpion chili or have scorpion-based chili sauces, you get that real throat burn. It grabs you. And this is less of a grab and more of a stroke. It's like gently stroking you, going, here it is. There's a burn. It's a friendly kind of burn. You know, it's not over top, but it's noticeable.
Yeah, but for some people, they have that, and for them, that's like, you know, some people we had at the markets, my gym, and the Christmas party, and they were, and some people for them, they're like, whoa, they have it because that's delicious, and then die. You know, they'd be sweating. They'd go, that's too much for me. So it's interesting because you can get the flavor. You could easily cut the spice and just have that flavor on the mouth and not let the burn. But by doing some different things, you can let the chili.
And it kind of builds as well. Yeah. Like first 30 seconds, you're like, oh, okay. And then it builds a little bit, but it's not over dominating. Yeah. It's not overbearing. It's not, oh, shit. You know, I've got a bit of a block nose, but in a good kind of way. I'm not melting down here. And I really enjoyed that flavor, and it's a real comeback sauce. You can go back for more. I can see that. There'll be what a family favorite.
This one on a barbecue, steak, barbecue.
Red meat, anything at a barbecue, even just your sausages. You know, I can just imagine like going to Bunnings, going, "Here, mate, get this one in you." And they're like, "What is this?" You know, you're like, "Try this." And they're like, okay, Bunnings, where?
It is, and that one for me.
Great sauces are just the beginning.
Because it is, you know, and I think for people, and there's some great people and other sauces, we can take them the heat level above this. So when you've got some of the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, you've got some of the death and the heat ones, they are great, and that's not where I wanted to go. I like that concept of being warm for people who love chili but have the flavor.
Yeah, so you leaned on the flavor.
I leaned on the flavor profile, and it means some people who are like mild probably stop about here. People like hot go to here, but they'll go, oh, could you still go hotter? Which is where we've been playing with what is very much a brand new batch.
What was the story behind it? So it's called You Asked For It.
It's called, so the original.
What did you say?
The original version of this was called Hell. That was our first version, where people said to us, hey, we love these. Could you just make something a bit hotter? We want something like if you're watching Hot Wings, that you put it on and you almost want to die. And I'm like, well, I won't quite and I can't, these are all from homegrown chilies. I can't grow Scovilles of that heat. So we kind of made our first one, which was loads of roasted
super hots can be pretty finicky sometimes.
Yeah, and we blended
I've talked to a lot of producers where They're going, I'm like, Kev, you got any Reapers? And they're going, oh, bloody Reapers. Those things are bastards.
Oh.
They don't taste that nice, unless you do like Reaper flavors.
Yeah.
Not everyone does,
Yeah.
but some people love them. I know I talked to Brianna Skinner, the Australian chili queen, and she's like, oh, they're like lollies, and eats them. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I think
but not everyone enjoys it. I'm like, and so.
And they're hard to grow, especially in Sydney. We've had bushfires, we've had really great summers, then we had the floods, then we've had a bit of a rubbish
it's been difficult
summer,
for producers
Yeah.
and growers and farmers. And like one of our biggest producers in Australia was Oz Chili, got just smashed by those floods.
Oh, yeah.
And then obviously up north as well, all the more flooding again, and then down south more flooding, and then
if you can even
huge, as biggest bushfires in history.
If you can manage to grow them, if you can keep off the aphids, the ants, the possums, and everything else, they are. So for me, we got asked. Hell was our first version. That was we took Scotch bonnets and I dehydrated them and then blended them to a paste that you had to wear an entire facial mask on to even like do the washing up with, kind of hot. So that was Hell. That was our starting point. We made Lee's Lava last year, which was all of the hottest chilies I could grow.
Lee's Lava.
Kind of brewed up. We've just finished off the end of Lee's Lava, and then this is the one. And because people again kept asking for us hotter, can you make something hotter? Which is now called You Asked For It. It's the hottest we can make with what we have in our garden. So I wasn't going to go.
So tell me again, what's in this?
Carolina Reapers, ghost peppers, and brain killers. And brain killers, I love because they give you that bit like someone's taken a needle on your tongue at the end. They've got that.
It feels like you're being stabbed with.
Feels like you're being stabbed with tiny little needles, like you eat a Szechuan peppercorn. It's that kind of concept. So for me, it is hot.
I'm gonna blow my nose before I just start.
But
melting.
still, at the point you can give yourself a good dab. This isn't like the toothpick ones. This isn't like a Grim Reaper 4, 8, 10 million Scoville. I certainly can't make anything that hot, nor would I eat it. But this for me was just to take it to the next level. And if someone then wants to blend two together, because they would love our cherry one to be spicier, they can absolutely mix it with a bit of make your own heat level kind of flavor. So for us, this is certainly our first season of doing the Reapers. It's our first season of doing ghost peppers. We've done brain killers over a couple of years. They've just kept getting better and better and stronger. So when they come back on a yield, sometimes the chilies, you might get an off year, but then they come back and sometimes the plant will make yield after yield after yield, and the chilies will be shinier than before. And actually, it's almost like, sometimes with the grapes, when people have vines, you almost need them sometimes have an off year, because the year after they produce really good chilies. So
it's sort of like waves. They come in
waves. And the brain killer, I thought that was it. Once I thought, let's say it's died, it's never coming back. It became a stick, and it had a year. Just decided to have a year off.
It's sort of like that genetic, like when people have good genetics, or some people skip a generation. Yeah. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Like it'll skip a generation and go, and then you get the desired effect of the second generation. And, okay then. Yeah. And so sometimes it's not just give up on that generation because you didn't get what you want in the next one.
Just wait.
Just wait like another generation. Yeah. Sometimes you'll get the effects in the second one.
Sometimes you give it a bit of a grow and let it come back on its own. And you can tell for me something that I noticed from growing them all ourselves is the shine. It's not
Roger
color.
True. That's Roger True from the Hot Damn Show.
That's awesome. There is a shiny that they get to them when they're at that hot. You could look at it on the plant and go, that is ready. That is going to be hot. I'm going to get gloves to pick that one. It comes out that natural oil shine, and that's when you know the brain killers are ready to take off.
And so, like, if you compared having how to grow and the difficulty to grow a brain killer compared to a Reaper, how would you say, what would you say they're like in comparison? Because a lot of people go going, bloody Reapers. Carolina Reapers, such a pain.
I don't even know if at any point they were even going to come in this season. Like, they were late. It was like they were just hanging around for, and what they were hanging around for was a couple of really hot weeks in Sydney that didn't come. They need that. When they're growing, it's fine if it's not too hot. You don't need too much moisture. Getting them in a little bit of shade. We have ours under a really great UV hatch that my husband built. That's like an enormous version of a veggie pod. You can actually get into it. It's got a misting system. But when
high tech.
When you get to if you don't get, just as they're coming into ripeness, that heat couple of days, like you almost want to get some heat lamps and fake blast them. They just won't. And then the plant almost stalls. It's like you're doing a beef brisket and it gets to a stall. It goes, am I going? Am I producing more? They're picky. They're really picky chili. Yeah. So we'll keep going at them. The yield could be anywhere from 5 to probably 200, and we had a small yield.
What a variance! 5 to 200.
And the same with our habaneros. We had a season where we were like on the 7th batch of taking chilies, and every time you took them off the plant, just went, hello. More and more, this was in the middle of
So you just don't know where you get through the roll of dice. You go,
You keep looking in, you can see them. They're always coming out of our veggie pod and our chili hatches. You'd look in COVID and you'd see them. And I'm like, oh my God, there's so many more to pick. I can't. The freezer was full. My oven was full. The pickling jars were full. I'm like, how can they keep making so many? And then the next year they go, I'm just going to make one batch. That's all you're going to get.
So you just sort of got to prepare for anything. You don't know what you're going to get.
Prepare for anything when you home make.
So prepare for the worst and adjust for the best.
Adjust for the best. And also not be okay knowing that they're a picky plant. They're like, they are.
Is there any way to like negate those features? Is there any way to make it a little bit easier for yourself?
To make it a bit easier for yourself, obviously producing more seedlings, because if you haven't produced enough seedlings, you're kind of then you're stuffed. I mean, really early on, like starting from a month or two from now, you've got to get your seedlings out, get lots and lots going, but also not being afraid to try. We've got some in the veggie pod. They sometimes do better, sometimes they don't, because that wicks all the water away. Yeah. Actually, having some in pots, having some in the shunt, you kind of.
So maybe try a few different ways to grow it, not just one way, because it's sort of like that whole saying, putting all eggs in one basket.
Don't put your eggs in one basket.
Try different ones, different locations in your yard.
Don't put one veggie pod. You get saying one bad season of aphids. You're almost need, especially if you're doing homegrown, you need to split your things.
And you said something about having eggs of
ladybirds,
introducing eggs of ladybirds,
so we
or even ants. But then you said something about the ants.
So this season we had a massive aphid outbreak at the start of the season, and we, rather than trying to use, and you can make your own chili oil, garlic spray on it, try and get rid of pretty sticky those buggers. So we actually, from a company in Queensland, there's a bug company. You order ladybird eggs. They hatch over a couple of days, and then you actually put them onto the plant, and they need to eat like 40 or 50 aphids a day, the ladybird, little tiny larvae, to become ladybirds. So you end up with them eating loads and loads of the aphids and then making ladybirds. Problem is, at that point, they then want to go off and actually find other ladybirds and keep they only have a window of before they become an actual ladybird.
So it's a finicky sort of process.
It's a finicky kind of process.
You've got to time it right as well.
And they also they eat each other if you don't go fast enough. There's not enough aphids, so you've got to kind of get away.
It's a very catch-22.
It's catch-22. So we experimented a bit with letting more ants into the area than normal.
So tell me, why do you introduce ants?
Because they eat the scaly mites. So if you get scaly mites, ants will eat the aphids as well.
So for those of us who aren't well versed, what are the scaly mites?
Scaly mites, if you've seen them, they look like I think you call them slaters is the way you get wood lice. A scaly mite looks like somewhere between a spider and a tiny little crustacean. You might have like fossils.
They sort of look like a hybrid of a scorpion and a spider.
And it's like a tiny little white
those bloody things. You
might see them on
a lot of them actually everywhere. Yeah,
and especially in the brain killers, they actually love scaly mites. They love to live, especially on the Carolina Reapers. Any chili that's got nodules, they love to get into the gaps in the actual chili and go in there. So we use a toothpick and have to actually
scrape them out.
Take them out. Toothpick they've gone, obviously you can't get into, but ants actually love them. But you've also got, there's a balance. If you let too many ants in, then the ants, when they can't find enough to eat, they'll eat anything. And they love chilies. Our ants, they love the habaneros, they love the jalapenos. So the possums as well. The possums are not picky about eating any kind of chilies.
So the ants are like, I've got another eating, I'll eat all your chilies as well, man. Or I was like, wow.
I feel like it's a daily balance. You just open the garden in the morning, okay, what is in there? What put in? What can I do?
What am I walking into today? I don't know.
You've got to wage a bit of war against them and against each other. And
frustrating.
And knowing it's okay to have some bugs, you almost just need a good balance, like a good ecosystem in there.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It sounds like this ecosystem, this war, like a balance of this ecosystem. But like you said, you've got to dabble in having multiple ecosystems and just see which one works the best for that time. But like you just said, one generation might be great, and the next generation, what the hell?
Yeah, and there's days you go in there, I'm like, because this isn't my day job. I'm like, I can't deal with
time with this, man.
I can't deal with you guys today. Ants just I'm coming back tomorrow. I'm like, you just have to really let it go. Roly pills or wood lice or slaters, little roly bugs. They can be really good in your vegetation as well because they eat all the they'll eat all the old chili leaves and actually munch them back into the soil. But again, then
it gets sort of recycled.
But if there's not enough leaves, they'll start actually stripping your chili plants onto the leaves. So you've just got to
do
it. Being a home grower is probably, I think, much harder than going industrial because at least at that point you've got scale, you've got sprays going, you've probably taken it at home. If you lose a batch, we probably won't make so many bottles this year, and it's kind of it's that level of, but it's enjoyable. Most days.
Okay. All right. Well, let's delve into this one. So, what is it? So,
you asked for it.
You asked for it. So, they wanted it hotter. Your response is, you asked for it. This is your fault.
This is as hot as we can make with what we grow in the northern beaches of Sydney. So, I think that's the kind of where we've gone to without starting to actually purchase.
Northern beaches. How would you describe the temperature or the climate around here?
Humid. It's really, really.
It's sort of like the tropical version ish area of Sydney.
Yeah, you get a beautiful kind of breeze coming over from the ocean. You can get incredibly hot days, but most of the time humid. It's a really humid environment.
But yet, like around lately, it's been quite cold. Like there's been like 4 or 5 degrees.
It's like 8 degrees yesterday mornings, which is where your chilies can stun. And in the summer, we had a really wet summer. We had the floods, we had a cyclone.
Yeah, it's been so all over the place.
We had power lines down. We've had all the seasons over here. So, but I think what it does it limits what I can grow at home, and I'm okay with that. I'll work with what I get, but it means you can't get, probably if you're up in Queensland, you could get hotter.
And I like how I can see the seeds.
You can see the seeds.
And you see the ingredients in this one.
So this one, you know, I think at this level, it is good to see that, you know, you've got little bits of ghost in there, you've got a little bit of scotch. You can blend everything down to being
This is going to burn. Oh, this is going to burn. I can tell.
Yeah.
So, look, the question I want to ask you before we eat this one, you get to tell me after we try it. So, I'm sure many people are aware, and obviously being a woman, you're aware, chili is a pretty male-dominated environment. Not just as producers, but obviously as reviewers and whatever,
tasters,
tasters, you know, like that. What do you have to say to all the girls at home, people that want to give it a go, the people that are involved, people that want to get involved, and stuff like that?
I think for me, it's knowing
after we finish this one. Yeah, right. Yeah, that's hot.
You can talk after you finish that one. What I say, I think for anyone, women, especially knowing that chili doesn't just have to be that. Chili isn't just brain killer, ghost peppers, cayenne reapers. It isn't that just because you eat it, it's so hot and there's people dabbing all the stuff on their food and it's not flavor. Knowing you can make some stuff that's either the mild range and mango and sweet and still chili and delicious, or knowing you can actually create something in the middle that might be hot for you but medium for other people and it's full of flavor. So I think for people not to be afraid, especially when they come in to the chili space. Now, you're probably not going to find, certainly myself, at a Carolina eating kind of competition, but you will find me going up to pretty hot sauces, and I'll try them all. I'm not afraid to have a go. What's the worst case that can happen? To have a little bit. And you'll see that's now got the brain killers come in. So the brain killers are like a scorpion.
It's a real all-round kind of kick, and then it keeps building.
Yeah,
it's
because you've got the reapers
action.
up here, and then you get a little bit
of
ghost
all around the tongue. And then what was it? So it's ghost Carolina.
Ghost killer and the brain killer.
The brain killer. Yeah, that brain killer is like.
Yeah, if you wait about another 1 or 2 minutes when the brain killer really starts kind of scorpioning.
If it was any hotter, I would feel like my ears are ringing.
See, my ears are popped already. So for me,
my ears are starting to pop as well. And I feel like ears going, like that going up a big hill. And the more we talk, it's worse.
Yeah, it's got worse now. I know we should have had it before the talking. But for me, it's actually, don't be afraid and don't be afraid to experiment and come in and play in. You might not be the person. There was incredible women at the Park House in Monaville at that chili eating competition as well. They didn't make it up to the top tier, but there's some pretty high women who are incredibly brave. But come in and make sauces and play and know they can be delicious and a bit spicy, but don't have to be, you know, at that level. So for me, I love making up to here. At this point, it's just fun. If it's hell or Lee's lava or you ask for it or whatever we make next season's, it's as hot as we can go. I know people love those and want to, especially if you're having your own hot wings competition at home, but go for flavor, find things that you love and try and make a sauce out of them and just come in because it is a great space and I've loved making these. And so many women purchase them at my local yoga place, at my gym. Lots of women actually, because there's especially the lower end, you can actually have some really great flavored sauces and maybe try and creep your way. You can definitely get a bit of tolerance and creep your way up. So starting here and creeping up and then, you know, just seeing how brave you are at the top end. For me, that is like brave. That is like...
Yeah,
like you have that love.
That is a considerable heat in that one, and it keeps giving, it keeps on.
And the things you
burning,
can put,
and that Reaper is definitely, it keeps building.
Yeah.
And once you get over the tingly kind of brain killer, that Reaper goes, hey, by the way, I'm not going away. I'm building it, and it's building.
It's almost like the gift that keeps giving. I mean, I'm sure I would love to get some people give some comments for whatever we call next season's one. But it's one of those just keep going, keep afterburn, keep really hot. But if you actually, it's finding the balance. You could mix a bit of that into cherry. Take it up a level. For us, you know,
I think men have no sense of self-preservation.
That is actually neither do teenagers. That's coming from my husband. You know, my son comes over.
We're not thinkers, we're doers.
Yeah, my 14-year-old and all these mates come over and they don't go in. They don't even muck around in this range. They're like just saying, who can eat as much of this? And then later the Gaviscon comes out and you're in the milk and they're all lying around. So they're going to have their heart attack. But
that being said, guys, I think we've got to be reminded that at the end of the day, the world title record holder, or not record holder, sorry, world title belt holder for the world is Shahina Wasim, right? The UK chili queen, right? And she's undefeated with 91 competitions. That's ridiculous, right? And somebody goes to me, oh, the League of Fire shirts, that's really male or what's it, masculine? I'm like, actually, no, they're not, man. That's sort of built around Shahina Wasim, the UK chili queen. You know, she's a chick. You know, they go, oh, really? You know, surprise. And I'm like, it's a surprise, but it's amazing. There are some really unique and strong competitors there. Like I said, UK chili queen, Brianna Skinner, the Australian chili queen. You got Edda, the ice queen. There's so many. Sid, you know, they're all on the Netflix special We Are the Champions episode 2 cheerleading, you know, and there's some serious competition. In Australia there is as well. We got Trish Trash Modular, we got Chantel Candy, the Blazing Blondie. We have legend Fire Rose Alicia from Northern Territory. There are some serious female threats out there, you know, and some people don't want to give women kudos because it's amazing what female producers can do. You know, you got Scarlett Habanero, aka Sandra, from she runs Riz Chili Fest, and all these other.
And I love seeing women coming in with sauce. I mean, I love it. I mean, I love it. I'm a big fan of the homegrown.
100%. Brie Reck as well. She's one of the most amazing reviewers in Australia as well. There's so many, you know. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to forget them. I'm just getting burned. This is grilling the hell out of me. That is a hot sauce, you know. For rating for non-chili heads, that is super hot. For chili heads, that is definitely a hot, so a strong hot.
For non-chili heads, it's a probably try once, maybe not come back.
Yeah. He's just like, I'm going to go the toothpick on that one for non-chili heads. For chili heads, maybe a teaspoon, you know, at the most, and go, oh, wow, okay, I've got to build my tolerance up a bit
and then the
more.
problem is probably about a minute or two from now you go, I'm just going to have a bit more. I'm just going to take a bit more.
That's right. So I think like one of the take-home things is I wanted to say is that the ladies shouldn't be afraid to jump in, you know. It's not all men, you know. And I know it's a bit silly of a thing for me to say, but like I think we want to encourage more women to be involved in the chili industry. It's not all men. Don't let the men all do it. Don't let all the men compete as well. If ladies, you know, if you want to compete, go for it. You know, we want to see everyone out there. We don't care who you're from, where you're from, who you are, what you look like. You know, whether you're male, female, trans, white, black, or green. Right? If you want to compete, compete. If you want to make produce resources and products, go do it. Don't be afraid to be yourself and create those products and compete. You know, everyone is welcome in this chili community. There's enough room for everyone, isn't there?
There is, and it's a massive community. I really appreciate Brain Bites having us
worldwide
join the
as well. Like worldwide, there's a huge chili community worldwide.
And especially you go to the festivals or any of the shows, you go see people like do things. It's absolutely massive. And I really appreciate to thank you for having us today and doing this. And
that is making my notes.
Having someone from the Northern Beaches, actually, you know, a local person being able to come in at the kind of more amateur league and kind of bring these to everyone to experience.
Well, I think like what we're saying with Mr. Chili is that we're going to have more of an amateur judging league as well. Sorry if you hear what I'm saying through tissues. That is grilling me, by the way. That's a fantastic.
You can tell I probably tasted it a couple of times at home this week, so I feel like I built up my visual tolerance of it.
Yeah, KGB Saucy from the US. All women in the spice world to look up. There's so many guys. You know, it's not just men. It's not a man's world. And that, I think, like, you know, in the general, you know, it's not a man's world anymore. It's now there's so many people, and you've got to give kudos to so many amazing women out there as well. There's not just men. It's not just a man's world.
If you're passionate about spice of any kind,
go for it.
Go for it. And that's a big piece. It's all about passion in this space.
That's right.
All the people doing this, all the people brewing, all the people at the festivals, even if you're making it the batch end, these really high-end, incredible ones in Australia, it's all about passion where it started from. So that's where we come from, certainly, from what we do, and it is a massive passion project. So I really appreciate you having us.
That's all right. Well, I'm not gonna let you go now. I know we're both burning down. I
think I'm okay.
Just gonna prod you. No, I think I'm just gonna prod you for a couple more questions. But I wanted to ask you. So, obviously, you've got a few that you're playing with now.
Yeah.
Obviously, everyone has their favorite product that they want to make, or it's like the easiest to make, and then there's always that one real bastard to make, and you're like. So tell us what is the favorite one to make versus your hardest one to make? Tell us a bit about that.
I think my favorite one has always been Kung Fury, and that's because we just eat so much Thai food and I love it. So making it was kind of like just, you know, we're dipping stuff in the first few batches.
You're more passionate
the Thai food and getting the flavor, because there's such a flavor profile in Thai food of getting the combination of Thai basil and kaffir lime and the right amount of coconut and a bit of lime juice. You've got to know your flavor profile in Thai food, and not make it too sweet. It's all about the 4 flavors for the Thais. So for me, this one, when we were making it, dipping in it, and you almost like, we had quite a few side batches before we even got it bottled. It just became almost like dinner that night, like almost just turned to add a bit more coconut milk and make it your Thai dinner.
Plus dinner. No, that is dinner.
Yeah, and I love the smell. There's something for me about the smell.
It's a beautiful smell.
So for me, it's my favorite to make. It's not the easiest one to make because of all the kind of of actually the getting it exactly right every time. Even when you measure everything, even when you weigh it. The kaffir lime plant's slightly different every year. You know, the habaneros, how hot were they when they came off the plant? How ripe were they? There's always a little twist at the end for every batch because, you know, there isn't exact when you're doing them home batch. The one
so it's hard to get the exact same flavor every time. It's hard to nail that exact flavor. That's the saying. It's talking about generations, phenos, what happened that season, how they grow. You know,
especially if you use like a local honey, like we use someone really locally in the beaches for their honey. It's going to be based on what the bees ate. What was, you know, were they eating flowers or pollen? Because you're going on really natural. You can get honeys that are super sweet and super flowery. I did
hear someone was fiddling with flavors with the honey and making sure that the bees' diets were fixed or introducing things to their bees' diet, and it does change what the flavor comes out like, which is another weird little adjustment, but it does make a huge difference.
It makes a huge difference, and every batch you get as well is different. So I think, you know, it's all about experimenting, but I really enjoy making this one because of just I mean,
so that's the one favorite.
I tell you the one it's not in this
everyone
range.
Has the one they hate.
I hate making the mango one because it's so messy. Like ripe mangoes are just the messiest thing in the world. However, the one that I hate making and it isn't in this range, is come in and out, is our own Tabasco sauce.
And that's the reason why? What's the reason why?
Because it ferments for so long. You don't know until really far in if you nailed it at the start. Did you get the right mixture?
Infuriating.
How good were the habaneros at the start? Did I get the right mixture of salt? Has it sat in the right ferment jar?
And so like what we had before, you experienced that. Is it going to blow out everywhere or is it going to be a good sauce?
Yeah, but even with that, is it too... You know, habanero is really just chilies. Tabasco is really just chilies and the salt, and it just self-ferments. And then, you know, they do some different things, so you can add a little bit of a flavor profile. And we made a Tabasco sauce from habaneros, and it was glow in the dark, luminescent orange that pulls all the colors out of them. But you don't know till a couple of months in if it's even going to be tasty. It could just be really bitter. It could actually not be really
so there's a couple of months from that and the process from start to finish.
Yeah.
But you said this one. How long did it take to get from start to finish on that one?
Oh, like to make this?
So this one you said.
This one. It's my favorite. I can do that in like this afternoon. So as long as the kaffir lime plant has produced all the kaffir lime leaves, as long as there's enough habaneros on my plant, and I've got all the...
So the effort versus reward is way
and you can taste
easier
it straight away
and quicker as well. So that's a gigantic, massive leap in difference.
Anything that you're brewing or pickling, even when I'm pickling the habaneros for some of these sauces to give that different flavor profile, when they go into the pickle jar and they're pickling, you need to let them... You need to be patient, and you have to sometimes just go off.
Which must be hard to do. You're like, just do the thing. I want it now. You know.
And you can open it up, and if you didn't get the seal right when you're fermenting, if you didn't use really good vinegar, if you put a bit too much salt in, it's nowhere near as easy to then fix it at that point. So I get frustrated.
Is there a secret to get the seal right? Have you played and go,
really hot water and really expensive jars. Don't get any of the cheap buy for. Packed jars. Get the really quality jam sealed ones.
Jam sealed?
Yeah, but also taste the pickling mixture before you. It doesn't taste great, but you should start knowing what it should taste like before the chilies go in, you know, and before it pickles. And tasting that, getting a feel for what that pickling mixture is was really important. So I can taste it before I'd seal it for a few months and go, actually, I think it's going to be good. Yeah. Whereas before it was a little bit experimental.
So can I ask, so from the one that went everywhere before, in your opinion, what do you think went wrong there? Like, what
I'll have over-fermented the habaneros, probably slightly past where they should be. So be producing a little bit too much. However, I know my husband can confirm, we've just made a whole new batch of that and it didn't explode and we just had some go out. So
it could be the individual bottles.
It could be, that one was full to the utter brim. So it may be
so it depends how much you fill it with.
So we do measure it out to the right amount. However, with them, obviously, there's a little bit of self-fermentation in the jar. You know, they'll grow a little bit. I mean, you know, when you're doing it at home and you're not weighing, you know, you're weighing it and measuring it probably not as exactly as a robot machine putting out exactly 200 mils. If we've gone slightly over on that when it was full to the cap, you could just get that slight variance where it's actually lifted slightly above the seal. And then therefore, you know, wasn't a good one. So, but the rest of the batch, you know, everyone's had some and it's gone out. So we might have just had the exploding bottle.
Yeah, and I'm hoping it's just one.
Well, you know? Sorry, there'll be video later of us at home unsealing the whole batch.
And that's just how we fix this bloody thing. So, obviously, you've stored us with a lot of advice. But now we're going into the future. What do you hope to achieve as a company that's going to go from a bit more amateur to hopefully more professional and commercial? What do you want to achieve as Charlie's?
As Charlie's Chili, I think for us staying really true to the flavors is really important. It's really easy to get dazzled in anything going, but all the other people are doing this and look at all these other sauces. And probably for me, trying to keep the range.
So sticking to originality.
Sticking to flavors, sticking to where we can get home produced, you know, homegrown kaffir lime, really good flavors, stuff that's in season. and not having too many in your range, because it does become hard to manage.
Because it becomes overwhelming as well.
It becomes overwhelming, and then people don't know
just
you for one or two flavors.
But for customers, people come going, I don't know what to choose.
You could go, Byron Bay, you've now got 50 different ones.
They do have a lot.
Yeah, and I love
their
coconut gingery one they have. Like, they had some early ones that were great, but then the range just gets big, and people go, what are you about? Who are you? So I think staying true is really important. And it may be you even have a smaller range. You just have 4, we've nailed it, and a special seasonal one for your good friends. The cherry one's great. The smoked one's great. This is really unique to do something with a Thai flavor. Maybe anyone could do mango, but being really true, being focused, but keep experimenting on the side. Don't just do them and then go, okay, we make these now, and we don't play around still, because there's always new stuff to do. So I think for me, that's the big piece about just staying, as we grow a bit more now, just staying with that. But homegrown, to me, is really important, and using local ingredients we can in natural flavors. So there's no preservatives apart from vinegar and things. Not having reading the back, and you see 17 things on there, you don't know what they are, with letters and numbers and flavorings and colors and stuff. So trying to stay true is really important.
Okay, so look, I think the last thing I want to sort of walk away with as well, like we sort of talk about what you want to achieve, but I know we've given a lot of advice, but what do you think the best advice you would give to someone who's new, who wants to get into this industry or into producing or into somehow involved with what we're doing here, and then trying to delve into that professional area from the amateur thing? What do you think was either the best advice you could think of that you would give, or the best advice that was given to you? What do you think?
I think the best advice for us, letting other people taste it and giving us feedback. So I think some of the initial ones we made were just too hot.
So just being honest.
Being really honest, asking people who like
don't
flavors.
Sugarcoat things.
Don't sugarcoat it. Ask other people to actually taste it and give you honest feedback. Not, oh, that's okay. Like,
don't be emotional about it, I suppose. It's not an emotional thing. Don't take it personally. Just go, no, look, break my heart here. But at the same time, I've got to fix it. I've got to make it enjoyable for everyone. But then,
and you've got to find a good initial batch. We've got such a good group of friends, of colleagues, people through the film industry who've tried these, who've been on the journey with us, who've then bought more, who've given us some advice, who've asked for other things. I think that's really important to get that initial really good. If you're not going straight from I do this to I'm in a mass kitchen and I'm going out to Woolworths, if you're really trying to go through a more amateur homegrown route, I think having a really good group of people around you in your network, and giving lots of them away for free at the start. Like people taste them, like people try them, take that honest feedback, and then it doesn't come with probably a price tag. And then tweak.
And so is that one of the advices as well, is don't assume that you're going to be making profit anytime soon.
Don't assume you'll be making profit anytime soon.
That's not how business or private or personal business works.
And I think finding what is your thing, like, is really easy. You could
find your niche. Is that what you mean?
Find your niche. You could pick a generic bottle, you could pick a generic label, you could probably pick some normal chili sauce vinegar flavor, but find your niche and find something that you think actually represents you in some way, because then your passion's in it more and you're more embedded in it, and you also then have the really nice story to go with it.
I've heard a lot of people have said, one of the things that they've said is, what's the best advice that you've got to be or have in the chili industry? And a lot of people say, if you're not passionate, you're not going to make it in this industry. And do you agree with that? Like, because your passion's got to get you over the line. That passion's got to be there when something goes wrong. Their passion's got to be there when you have sleepless nights about thinking about everything that could go wrong.
When you go to your veggie pod and there's aphids and ants and possums been in and eat all your kaffir lime, because goodness knows what they're up to, but you've got to have, you've got to have a level of passion that sits even above that, where on the hardest day you're willing to let your passion get you up and take you over the line. And if you make a whole batch of bottles and they explode, go, oh, well, shit happens, and we're just going to go on, and we're going to tweak that sauce.
It's just another obstacle and just keep going. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, it is. So I think the passion for me is higher than anything else, and it gives you that great piece where you take it forward and people become passionate with you. When you're passionate, you take other people on a journey.
So maybe bring passionate people into your circle and your support network, is what you're saying as well.
And have those people who then actually are going, oh, that's great, and you could do this, and you don't have people going, oh, don't know, that's too hot. Like, thanks, it doesn't help me.
So
having a group of really passionate people around you who are passionate about your stuff. So for me, that's, apart from our friends and family, it's also my husband. The two of us bounce off each other and we try different things.
So that's important as well, really is having a supportive partner, or friends, people around you, or network, or the people that are business partners or whatever around you. I'm not going to say get rid of the haters, but don't allow the haters to be in your support network, because you're just going to bring you down and draw that energy.
But also making sure all those people are willing to challenge you, because if you just bring in likers, they all go, they're great, you should sell those. So I'm going, that one's okay, but actually you need a couple of people. Or they've lied
to you, and you're just like, that didn't help me. Why are they? People going, why are your sauces so shitty? Like, and I'm like, no, you've got to. It's still like business. You got to just go, No, we need some harsh critics here. You know, not everything's going to be perfect. And, you know, running your own small business is hard.
It is hard.
You know, as so many do fail, that you've got to have that passion to overcome all these obstacles, like he's just saying there, and take the hard hits. You know, and like you said, not every business is going to make money straight away, and not every business is going to make money for quite a while. You know?
It's also, I think, okay for some people. You get to the range, you just stay in a really great amateur homegrown space. You go, you know what, that's me. I don't want to go to be mass.
So don't expand too quickly, is what you're saying. Make sure,
unless it's what you really want. If you really want to do it and go, I'm going from here to commercial, because that is a whole other ballgame.
Yeah,
that is
and you've
changing
got to
everything.
make sure that demand's there versus the supply.
Yeah, and the competition's very high up there. The price they're going to want it at will become very low. So if that's where you want to go there and have a plan.
Think about your overheads and all that. And then we were saying before, then how do you that's expanding from your home kitchen to then the commercial kitchen, and then getting the chemicals and the ingredients right on a larger scale. You've got to make sure you can scale it and scale it up. And I've heard a few people going, oh man, how is this? I don't know how this is going to work, you know, and it's not working for them, or it takes a lot of fiddling to get it to that and then you really combo.
That's more than passion. That is passion, and you want it to be commercially viable. And at the moment, I'm okay to live off some really good passion and flavors and see where we go. I think, you know, some people have aimed, you know, come in and gone, I want to be here making this many and bottling them and having them mass produced and adding loads of wholesalers. And it's okay to also come in and be, I want to actually just be in the local markets and have loads and loads of local people buying them and make them pretty well, but not maybe go a level beyond.
So you're saying make sure that you've got that passion there, but have an element of realism in your thing. Go, shoot for the moon, but at the same time, make sure it's doable, make sure it's functional, practical kind of things that you're going for, and real, like actual tangible goals. Otherwise, you just sort of lie to yourself.
And we're in a highly competitive. There's so many chili sauces.
Yeah. It's not just niche. It's not just general public. It is super niche. It is super specialized. But like I said, it's totally competitive. Yeah. You know, so be ingenuitive. Yeah. Come up with new flavors. Don't go, I'm just going to do the same thing that everyone else is doing and then hope for the best. I'm like, no. I mean, you can make your own generic version of that, but sometimes you've got to make an own twist. Yeah,
you might make something's version of the, you know, tomato sauce and have a play, but not, you know, it is finding the ones that are yours and keeping that unique. And that's where so many distro companies have done so well and produced so many good bottles and ranges, because they've actually stayed specific or true. They've got great logos. They've got great flavors. Some of them haven't got huge ranges, and that's okay.
But don't be afraid to experiment too. Is kind of what.
Have a seasonal one. Have a play with something.
Yeah, and don't just go, I'm going to make one sauce, and then it's good, and then I'm just going to go in and you see what happens. I'm like, and I've heard one guy he is experimenting with this sauce for 15 years before he got it right, and then he goes, that's what my company was based on a sauces that were done over years and experimented with, and then people had hurt his feelings on purpose. He's going, I made them hurt my feelings so that I got it right. And I was like, okay, that's being raw and honest with yourself and going, this is what it takes to be in a market where it's, like you said, it's rough, it's competitive, you know, it's specialized and it's niche. So it is a harder market to break into.
And if you go into a deli and you see 25 different rows of chili sauces, sometimes you're just like, it's a bit like when you go to some shops and you see all the wine, you're like, I'm just going to go on that label, it looks good. Like, you know, it's that.
And the rough thing is when you do go to like a deli or a Woolies or a Coles or an Aldi, and you look at their sauce aisles, some of them don't even scratch the surface of how many good producers and sauce and products, chili products there are out there, and some of them just don't get the light of day, the exposure that they should. And it's like you said with your partner, sometimes it's the exposure, sometimes it's the right packaging, sometimes like I'm not going to diss that company that makes Bunsters with shit the bed, but like what an amazing company name called Shit the Bed, and it smashed them all the way over the line into the American market. It is a good sauce, you know, but it's also the name, and the Americans are like, this is great stuff, you know, because it's so unique of a bottle, and even the bottle almost looks like either a beaker or a shit coming out.
And then people buy as a joke as well, you know, some of the names, people are like, have this because it's going to literally do this.
And it was the uniqueness of how different it was. And so I think that's one of the other advice I think a lot of people said is don't be afraid to be unique. Don't be afraid to get a bit of ingenuity. try and be new, be bold.
Yeah, and I'd love to see more chili festivals across. I mean, all of Australia,
we
especially
need more
in
chili
Sydney,
festivals.
and
Yeah.
everyone bringing their sauces and everyone coming together with their passion and flavouring and tasting them and having like a great day that is just all about chili sauces. I'd love to see one in the Northern Beaches or in the Sydney area, you know, coming up again, because that just allows people to come and all people you know are passionate about it and actually there for each other to taste everyone else's sauces and give good feedback.
100%.
And not always be looking for the what is the hottest I can take because it's a competition.
100%.
Yeah.
So, look, I really want to thank you for coming on. But before we say goodbye, tell us again, what are the details? How do we get hold of your stuff?
Yeah.
Where do we go? What is the details to...
Well, hopefully my husband's still on, so he can throw them on there. So we have the link in here to our Facebook page, which is Charlie's
This
Chili.
is the email,
The
is it?
Gmail
Chili?
is Charlie's Chili.
So Charlie, CHARLEES,
Yep.
chili at gmail.com.
And it's Charlie's Chili on Instagram as well, so at Charlie's Chili. And if you haven't purchased one of our bottles, there's a nice QR code on the back that takes you to our Instagram account as well. So
Awesome. And have you got any deals or something like a combo deals or anything like that?
combo deals. So they're usually one bottle for 15. So we'll do 2 for 25 for anyone who's interested coming off their back. So come straight into our Facebook, come through the DM, or come into Insta, and we'll kind of set you up with our sauces if you're really interested.
Nice. There you go. All right, mate. Well, look, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
Thank you so much. I've really loved being on.
And is there anything else you wanted to say to us before we leave with all the spice legends out there?
I think for all the spice legends, and I'd love to, if anyone to get some, really love your honest feedback again, because we're still early doors and early starting. Give us feedback about the flavors and the taste, and we've chosen the thicknesses, and we love to have that from multiple people. So please, if you get some, come back to us. Tell us if you like it. Tell us the things you'd like us to see, and tell us what else we should be making. We're always looking for what's the next seasonal variety.
I said that the Bunsters wasn't practicing truth in advertising. Oh, yeah, exactly. All right, Legend. Well, thank you again for coming on. And Spice Legends, all I have to say for now is keep calm, be awesome.